La séance est ouverte. Mes chers collègues, afin que votre présence soit bien enregistrée, lorsque vous prenez place dans l'hémicycle, je vous rappelle que vous devez insérer votre badge et le laisser en place pendant au moins 30 secondes. Vous devez également l'insérer pour pouvoir prendre la parole ou voter. Pour demander la parole, veuillez appuyer sur le bouton « Request ». En outre, comme indiqué ce matin, je vous rappelle que les membres n'ayant pas soumis de déclaration annuelle d'intérêt devront commencer leur intervention par une déclaration d'intérêt orale conformément au paragraphe 20 du Code de conduite des membres de l'Assemblée parlementaire. Il y a 30 ans, à Srebrenica, plus de 8000 hommes et garçons bosniaques ont été tués. En 2007, la Cour internationale de justice a statué que les atrocités constituaient un génocide. La guerre de Bosnie, qui a fait plus de 100 000 morts, des milliers de femmes violées et plus de 2 millions de personnes chassées de leur foyer entre 1992 et 1995, en cette occasion solennelle, nous nous souvenons de l'un des chapitres les plus sombres de l'histoire récente de l'Europe et nous nous unissons pour honorer la mémoire des victimes. Aujourd'hui, nos pensées vont aux survivants et aux familles qui continuent de porter une douleur inimaginable et dont la lutte pour la justice se poursuit. Souvenons-nous des victimes. La leçon de Srebrenica ne doit pas être celle du silence ou de la commémoration symbolique. Au sein du Conseil de l'Europe et dans la construction d'une Europe unie, dans la promotion des valeurs de la démocratie, des droits de l'homme et de l'état de droit, elle doit être un appel à l'action. Veillons à tout mettre en œuvre pour ne plus jamais voir de telles atrocités. Je vous appelle à observer 1 minute de silence en mémoire des victimes. L'ordre du jour appelle la suite de la discussion du rapport d'activité du Bureau et de la Commission permanente, présenté par M. Zsolt Nemet, document 16257 et addendum 1 et 2, et du rapport de M. Julian Boulay, document 16258, au nom de la Commission ad hoc du Bureau sur l'observation de l'élection présidentielle en Pologne, 18 mai et 1er juin 2025. Nous poursuivrons donc la discussion générale entamée ce matin. Le débat devra être terminé à 17h30. Je rappelle que la durée d'intervention est limitée à 3 minutes par orateur. Dans la discussion générale, la parole est à Madame Kostadinowska-Stoczewska du groupe du SOC. Merci.
Madam Chair, allow me to first thank Mr. Boulay for the successful election observation mission and thank him for the work done. I believe both him and all of us who are members of the observation delegation did a good job in creating this balanced approach in the report that is in front of us. Poland held its presidential elections in a very interesting and at times a very far-reaching atmosphere. We are all familiar with the small margin that the new president was elected, and it's something that the Polish public has to have in mind. The absence of public debate was something that prevailed in the election process, and it's a mirror of what is actually happening in this society. The foreign influence, the attempt to modify it, the constant battle between who gets to have the blackest of campaign, mirrored itself in the everyday attitudes of the Polish nation. That is, the indifference of the youth for topics important for them, the selective approach towards issues of national importance, issues of well-being importance, and life in Poland in general. The 2025 presidential elections highlighted persistent gender imbalances in political participation. Unlike the parliamentary 2023 elections, which saw a surge of female candidates and strong mobilization of women voters, these elections featured only 2 female president candidates. That being said, allow me to congratulate our own Magdalena Beat for being one of those 2 brave female candidates. Civil society organizations and observers widely regretted this, noting the persistent gender imbalance in political leadership, underlining that it limited political pluralism and deprived the electorate of perspective crucial for debates on equality and social rights. Civic actors highlighted that those younger women who had been highly mobilized in the 2023 parliamentary elections around issues of reproductive rights and liberalization appeared less engaged in this presidential race. Frustration with the government's cautious pace on gender equality reforms contributed to this disillusionment. In the aftermath, political leaders now must further strengthen the trustworthiness and accountability of Poland's democratic institutions for the benefit of all citizens. True democracy is not a veto or no veto maneuvering. It is a shared responsibility. Thank you.
Merci pour votre intervention. Monsieur Goncharenko, vous avez la parole.
Colleagues, today we started our session with a very powerful message. Here was the original of the European Convention of Human Rights. This is really a milestone in human progress, in human history. But as any other document and a book, it's just a paper if it's not defended, if it's not protected. So who today is protector of human rights in Europe? With all respect to all of us, we like to say we're here to protect human rights in Europe. But today, human rights in Europe are protected not by us, not by politicians in general. They are protected by Ukrainian soldiers. By the way, it's very symbolical. Today, Putin signed the law in Russia which denunciates European Convention on Prevention of Tortures. So now torturing of people is legal in Russia. And believe me, one thing which Putin wants more than to torture his own people, Ukrainians, his dream is to torture Europeans. And who stands between him and his dream? Ukrainian soldier. And I just want to tell you, Ukrainian soldier, which is so important today, but how much Ukrainian soldier is paid? 450 euros when he or she is on rotation, are not on the just front line, but maybe just several kilometers from the front line. Once again, 15 euros daily for people who are risking their lives 24/7. So I want to address to you, the best language of solidarity in this case is money. Help us in Ukraine to pay soldiers as they deserve. It's disgrace that those who shield the continent from the horror receive and live on less than a minimum wage of the continent they protect. Salary of soldier in Poland is 1.2, 1.4 thousand euros. In France, 1.5, 3,000 euros. In Germany, 3-4. In Norway and Denmark, 4-6. Ukrainian soldiers should receive at minimum 1,000 euros, and it is possible with your support. So, my address to you, treat Ukrainian soldier as your own soldier. Fail to pay Ukrainian soldier, and you will fail to pay Ukrainian soldier who protects Europe, and you will pay to Russian soldiers who will plunder it. Thank you very much.
Merci pour votre intervention. Madame Grégorian, vous avez la parole.
Thank you, Madam President. The last time I was addressing this very respectable hemicycle, Armenia and Azerbaijan were still on their way to making peace. Today, the peace agreement is pre-signed and the peace is established between Armenia and Azerbaijan. This, however, is not the end of the story, but a reality that needs to be nurtured and taken care of on a daily basis. When we say nurture, the first is not to harm, to avoid using narratives that contradict the achieved agreement, such as terms associated with the conflict or narratives of enmity, something we unfortunately continue hearing in the official speeches of the President of Azerbaijan. Building and deepening trust is another important brick for strengthening peace, and it can be built by addressing remaining problems, among them the release of Armenian prisoners of war and persons held in captivity in Azerbaijan, also the fates of missing persons. Another essential direction that will strengthen peace, stability, and prosperity in the region is unblocking of regional communications. On August 8, the declaration signed in Washington by the Prime Minister of Armenia, the President of Azerbaijan, and the US President as witness states that all communications are to be opened and operate on the principles of sovereignty and jurisdiction of the country they pass through, and based on the principles of reciprocity and equality. The TRIP project, the Trump Route for International Peace and Prosperity, is a connectivity project in the territory of Armenia. In fact, TRIP is a reflection and part of the Peace Crossroads projects initiated by the Armenian government. Its aim is to serve as a bridge connecting the east to west, the north to south, through railways, highways, but also pipelines, electricity lines, and cables. It is also important to mention that the opening of the border with Turkey will be highly essential for the implementation of the TRIP route, investment project, and the Crossroads of Peace at large. Once all of the aforementioned is in process and implemented, peace will become more institutional, as connectedness and interdependency will create a reality that is mutually beneficial, hence creating less room for or motivation for threatening that reality. Concluding, I want to express hope that the peace process will only grow stronger despite persistent challenges. On even a more optimistic note, I wish that this peace process is inspiring and useful for other conflicting parties, as all of us suffer from continuous wars and all of us only benefit from peace. Let us stand there and work endlessly to establish and strengthen peace. Thank you.
Merci pour votre intervention. Monsieur Pavic, vous avez la parole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I would like to thank you for this minute of silence for 30 years remembrance of the Srebrenica genocide. It reminds us that we need to support human rights and European processes on the Western Balkans so Srebrenica would never happen again. Our Prime Minister Plenković was in Srebrenica recently to pay homage and respect to the victims and their families, and part of my speech will also be dedicated to supporting democratic processes in the Western Balkans. But first, I would like to begin to extend my warm congratulations to the people of Moldova for successful parliamentary elections that were held yesterday. That pro-European Party of Action and Solidarity has secured clear majority of 50%, demonstrating that citizens of Moldova continue to choose the European path despite external pressures and interference. This is a strong signal of resilience and commitment to democratic values. This is a strong voice for the pro-European processes also for other EU candidate countries. The path of European integration is demanding, and candidate states need more than promise. They require sustained institutional, technical, and political support. We must increase our presence in these countries through the field missions, stronger cooperation with civil society, targeted capacity building, and timely risk assessment. Our support must always remain merit-based, rewarding countries that demonstrate clear progress in democratic reforms, the rule of law, and the protection of the human rights. The Western Balkans are crucial importance for the future of Europe in terms of security and stability, democracy and integration. Croatia, as the most recent member of the European Union from the region, is ready to serve as a bridge and partner in this process.
Our support is based on merit, but Croatia stands ready to share its know-how, best practices, and technical expertise with our neighbors. This includes peer exchanges, training for civil service, judges, support in legislative alignment, and capacity building for the civil society. We must strengthen synergies with the European Union and other international partners to maximize impact. We also need to enhance monitoring and follow-up, not only in elections, but also in areas such as judicial independence, media freedom, anti-corruption, good governance, minority rights, and support and strengthen civil society in Western Balkans and candidate countries. Finally, I would like to give support to all the democratic processes in Moldova, in Georgia, and the Western Balkan countries. European Council, as the major stakeholder in human rights, needs support these democratic processes all the way. Thank you very much.
Merci pour votre intervention. Monsieur Gevorgian, vous avez la parole.
Madam Chair, the Armenian people are being asked to believe that following the Washington declarations, peace has already been achieved between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Yet the Washington peace is not the conclusion of the conflict, but the start of a new phase of regional uncertainty. Armenia has once again found itself in a position where its geopolitical agenda is being dictated. Efforts to neutralize Turkic risk while ignoring others' historically deep geopolitical interests create not stability, but new lines of confrontation. Dear colleagues, when tomorrow in this hemicycle you hear talk of a new era of peace, I urge you to reflect. Why has this era not freed Armenian prisoners in Baku, not opened the Armenian-Turkish border, not led to the withdrawal of Azerbaijani forces from occupied Armenian territories, not stopped the aggressive militarization of Azerbaijan? It is in this era of peace that my people hear Ilham Aliyev demanding constitutional changes in Armenia and so-called Zangezur corridor. Ask yourself, under what international rules and democratic traditions can Turkic leaders demand the return of Azerbaijanis to Armenia and Meskhetian Turks to Georgia, while denying the same right to the Armenians of Karabakh? Can such injustice provide long-term and lasting peace in the region? Dear colleagues, peace is not simply the absence of war. It is an adequate system of security. Europe likes success stories of reconciliation, but in this case, it must not applaud formal documents. It must demand real guarantees and balance. The new Armenian model of peace cannot be sterile. This is precisely why Armenia cannot and should not abandon its existing connections and capabilities in pursuit of illusions. We are witnessing the West's inability to stop the war in Ukraine. The largest US military base has not protected Qatar from periodic bombings. The entire Arab world could not prevent the ongoing catastrophe in Gaza Strip. The values and traditions of the democratic world have failed to protect the Armenians of Karabakh from ethnic cleansing. All this only confirms my conviction that countries like Armenia cannot face a false choice. True peace in the current international environment is based on deterrence, rules, and coercion, not on hope. I urge you to help Armenia strengthen and complement its current security layers by implementing what might be called the doctrine of cumulative security. We must remember, artificial peace is postponed war. Thank you.
Merci pour votre intervention. Madame Arendt, vous avez la parole.
Ms. Chair, dear colleagues, Karol Nawrocki became the victim of a dirty campaign in the 2025 elections. His program was not attacked, only his private life, family, and past. The media published rumors and anonymous slander at key moments of the campaign. It was an organized campaign to discredit the candidate supported by the patriotic camp. State services were also used. Data from the International Security Agency was leaked to the media, which is scandalous and threat to democracy. anonymous profiles on the internet financed with 420,000 promoted Rafał Trzaskowski and attacked the right wing. It's suspected that the scientific and academic computer network, an institution that should protect rather than divide, was behind this. Nawrocki's party had its subsidy withdrawn, hampering its campaign. But the Polish people showed their strength. Thousands of people donated money to support the candidate fighting for a fair Poland. Thanks to you, we have a president who represents us. Thank you for your solidarity. Thank you.
Merci pour votre intervention. Monsieur Lamelli, vous avez la parole.
Sehr geehrte Frau Vorsitzende, meine sehr geehrten Damen und Herren, ich möchte ebenfalls über den Bericht über die polnischen Präsidentschaftswahlen sprechen. Der Bericht benennt Defizite bei Justiz, Medien und Vertrauen in die Institutionen. Und ja, wir sollten das sehr ernst nehmen. Und wir sollten auch schauen, was wir an diesem Bericht für unsere eigenen Mitgliedstaaten lernen können. Denn mit Blick auf Polen wird kritisiert, dass die öffentlichen Medien parteiisch sind und den Wettbewerb verzerren. Und in Deutschland, wo ich herkomme, erleben wir Ähnliches. Die AfD ist in Umfragen stärkste Kraft, aber kaum ein AfD-Politiker wird in öffentlich-rechtliche Talkshows eingeladen, währenddem sich die Vertreter der Regierungsparteien dort die Klinke in die Hand drücken. Das ist keine neutrale Medienlandschaft, das ist gelenkte Öffentlichkeit. Und es geht weiter. Über NGOs fließen jedes Jahr Millionen von Euro in linke Strukturen, die als Vorfeldorganisationen regierender Parteien agieren. Bürger erleben das als einseitige Stimmungsmache, während kritisch stimmende Opposition an den Rand gedrängt werden. Meine Damen und Herren, die Lehre aus diesem Bericht sollte sein, wir müssen nicht nur auf Polen schauen, sondern auch in unseren eigenen Ländern Konsequenzen fordern. Und dieser Bericht, der macht auch Mut, denn er zeigt, dass trotz aller Hürden das Volk setzt sich am Ende durch. Und das haben wir auch in Deutschland erfahren, dass sich das Volk am Ende durchsetzt. Denken wir zum Beispiel an die ehemalige DDR, die Deutsche Demokratische Republik. Das Motto des DDR-Regimes lautete, Zitat, es muss demokratisch aussehen, aber wir müssen alles in der Hand behalten. Ich frage deshalb, wollen wir wirklich zu einer solchen Zeit zurück? Ich möchte das nicht. Und deshalb sage ich, wer kritische Stimmen unterdrückt und als angebliche Desinformation stigmatisiert, wer aussichtsreiche Kandidaten wie Le Pen, Georgescu oder auch Joachim Paul ausschließt und wer sogar ganze Parteien verbieten möchte, der hat keine Angst um die Demokratie, der hat Angst vor der Demokratie. Vielen Dank.
Merci pour votre intervention. Monsieur Kantak, vous avez la parole.
Dear colleagues, I have a question to you. Have you ever heard about situation when opposition is rigging the elections? Probably not. But in Poland, it's possible. Because our government, for the first time in the history, has accused the opposition of electoral fraud. Yes, Donald Tusk's government, which preached the rule of law, protested as if Karol Nawrocki had won the election by cheating rather than in fair vote. This is not a comedy. This is Poland, 2025. Let us move to a serious matters. Karol Nawrocki won the presidential elections on 1st of June 2025, gaining over 50% of the vote. However, the government and the Prime Minister stubbornly tried to undermine this result. Thousands of election protests, demands for a recount, pressure on the Supreme Court. This was not a defense of a democracy, but an attempt to undermine it. The result was eventually confirmed, but the bad taste remained. Let's first talk about the illegal seizure of funds. Our committee, Law and Justice, which supported Nawrocki, had tens of millions of złotych in public subsidies withheld under the pretext of administrative errors. Our rivals? No obstacles. It was like a boxing match with one hand tied behind your back. There was no chance for a fair campaign. The courts later restored the funds, but they didn't care. Secondly, the bias of the public media. National media under government control ran a campaign against Nawrocki, while Rafał Trzaskowski was portrayed in superlative terms. The OSCE report of June 2025 clearly stated the public media showed clear bias, portraying Nawrocki negatively and favoring Trzaskowski. This is not a journalism. This is a propaganda. And finally, the icing on the cake, the Akcja Demokracja scandal. This foundation, Akcja Demokracja, linked to the civic platform, spent hundreds of thousands of złotych from abroad via the Austrian company Estratos Digital on online advertisements attacking Karol Nawrocki on Facebook and other platforms. This is illegal campaign financing, and the government agency responsible for transparency on the internet turned a blind eye to it. It is a scandal that undermines confidence in the elections. To sum up, this is how it works in the liberal left-wing world. The thief cries, "Catch the thief." Thank you.
Merci pour votre intervention. La liste des orateurs est épuisée. Monsieur le rapporteur Nemeth, vous avez 3 minutes pour répondre aux intervenants. Merci.
Thank you very much for this lively debate. First of all, I would like to respond to the Polish elections. However, I'm convinced that my colleague is also having opinions about it. I'm grateful to the Polish colleagues who were dwelling around this issue. And I believe that this proves very clearly that foreign external influence may not come just from Russia. Foreign influence may come from other directions. And we all have to be aware to this very complex phenomenon, how to protect our democracies from this type of external influence. But I believe that the Polish democracy proved to be strong, and I believe that this fast train of the Warsaw fast train of democracy is going to be successful, and not just in Poland. Secondly, I would like to respond to the Armenian Azeri aspects. The agreement is not the end. The agreement is just the beginning, and I think the atmosphere has changed, and this changed atmosphere seems to be a good ground for the continuing of the diplomatic process, to close the open questions, and as I have said, I hope that we will be able to see again soon our Azeri colleagues back in the Parliamentary Assembly. And finally, I would like to underline what Madame Gardini and President Theodoros Rossopoulos was suggesting in the beginning of this discussion. Violence against journalists is no way what we should allow, and violence against politicians neither. And I do support the initiative of the President to pay attention to this phenomenon and come back in the form of a report to this question. Thank you very much for your attention.
Je vous remercie pour votre intervention. La discussion est close. Nous allons maintenant nous prononcer sur les décisions du Bureau figurant dans son rapport d'activité comme apparaissant dans le document... Excusez-moi. Excusez-moi, un moment s'il vous plaît. Appuyez sur... Insérez votre badge et vous appuyez sur le bouton. Merci.
Excusez-moi. On a point of order, in the light of the contents of this debate, I request that the Assembly annuls the decision of the Committee on the Election of Judges to reject the Hungarian list on procedural grounds. The Committee of Ministers has confirmed that the right procedure was followed, and it seems that the Judges Committee, on which I have the privilege of serving, was given incorrect and incomplete information. We should therefore ask the committee to proceed with interviewing the 3 Hungarian candidates as soon as possible, and nobody's cast any aspersions upon their competence or qualifications, and I think we should proceed with those interviews ASAP.
Merci pour votre intervention. Monsieur Christopher Schopp s'oppose à la décision de la Commission sur l'élection des juges à la Cour européenne des droits de l'homme, tendant à demander au gouvernement hongrois de soumettre une nouvelle liste de candidats au poste de juge à la Cour européenne des droits de l'homme. Quelqu'un souhaite-t-il intervenir pour s'opposer à cette objection? Madame Petra Bayer, vous avez la parole.
Yeah, as I explained already in the morning, the decision was taken by a very large majority. 3/4 of the committee was the opinion that the composition of the national selection body was not okay. If we refer the list to the committee, it's the same committee, it's the same procedure, it's the same composition of the same body. I do not assume that anything will be changed. It only undermines the credibility and the plausibility of our procedures and of the committee as such, so I'm against this rejection. Thank you.
Merci pour votre intervention. Nous allons voter à la majorité simple sur l'objection qui aura pour effet de renvoyer la question à la Commission sur l'élection des juges à la Cour européenne des droits de l'homme. Ceux qui approuvent l'objection de M. Schopp voteront oui. Ceux qui soutiennent la proposition de la Commission sur l'élection des juges à la Cour européenne des droits de l'homme de rejeter la liste au titre de la Hongrie voteront non. Le scrutin est ouvert. Le scrutin est clos. Je demande l'affichage du résultat. Le non le remporte, donc l'objection est rejetée. Il sera donc demandé au gouvernement hongrois de soumettre une nouvelle liste de candidats. Ça y est. Y a-t-il une autre objection à l'adoption de ces décisions? Il n'y a pas d'objection. Le rapport d'activité est donc approuvé. Chers collègues, je vous informe que des propositions de modification dans la composition des commissions ont été publiées dans le document Commission 2025-06, addendum 2. Il n'y a pas d'opposition à ces modifications. Elles sont adoptées. La prochaine séance aura lieu demain matin à 10 h, conformément à l'ordre du jour de la présente partie de session. La séance est levée. Merci.